But in order to create a successful e-commerce brand, you also want to build your brand, right? And the beautiful thing about influencer marketing is that you're getting similar value to those online ads. You're getting your product out there, you're getting sales, awareness, etc. But with influencer marketing, you're also developing a lot of content. You're developing a lot of social proof, trust. And so it becomes this amazing way to not only generate sales, but then also create these long-lasting relationships.
Welcome to today's episode of the E-Commerce Revolution podcast, where we dive into the dynamic world of e-commerce and uncover the tools and tactics that empower today's emerging entrepreneurs. Our podcast is part of our community with the same name. The community is geared to providing emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs with courses, content, and coaching to help you all launch and grow successful businesses. Check us out at ecomrevolution.co. Let's get things started. Welcome to another episode of the E-Commerce Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Ramin. Today's guest is someone who has been building and scaling businesses for over 2 decades. William Gasner is a 6X founder who's co-created everything from a successful web development agency to a 7-figure e-commerce brand and even a YC-backed tech startup. And anybody who doesn't know who YC is, that's Y Combinator. He's currently the co-founder and CMO of Stack Influence, a platform that helps e-commerce brands scale micro-influencer marketing through automation and product seeding. His insights on the influencer and e-commerce space have been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, and Wired. And today, he's here to share them all with us. If you've ever wondered how to get real people talking about your products or how to make influencer marketing work, even on a small budget, this conversation is for you. So without any further ado, please welcome William Gasner to the E-Commerce Revolution podcast. William, it is great to have you here.
Thanks for having me on, Ramin.
Absolutely. I love this topic. As I mentioned to you in the top when we were having a little brief before this, this is where I think emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs can really make a difference in the world and actually, utilize influencer marketing. We're not talking about the mega influencer marketers out there, but we're talking about the ones that they're real people that can help you. Not to say that the megas are not real people. We get
Absolutely.
That they are. Where are you connecting with us from today?
I am based in Providence, Rhode Island, actually.
Oh, very nice.
Smallest state.
Yes, but a beautiful part of the country. Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's getting nice here.
Yes.
Weather's shifting.
Shifting.
Sun's out. So.
Sun's out. The summer is starting. People are probably out on the water enjoying
Absolutely.
life. Very nice. Let's get started and let's dive into the questions if you're good with that. And tell me a little bit about Stack Influence and what is it about and how does it go after the world of micro influencers and help other e-commerce entrepreneurs out there?
Absolutely. So very high level, Stack Influence is, as you mentioned, a micro influencer marketing platform. What is unique about it is that it helps brands automate the process of collaborations with micro influencers and does it at scale. And going into, for those of you who do not totally know what micro influencers are, they're basically influencers or social media users with usually less than 100,000 followers. So not the celebrities of the world, not the Kardashians, smaller follower range, but higher engagement, more trust. And so the name of the game there, because you have less reach to an audience, you want to scale them up, right? Work with a lot of different people. And that becomes very difficult. And so what the Stack Influence platform does is it helps brands automate that collaboration process. We can go into a bit more detail later in this podcast, but it helps them automate this and then does that at scale. We have a community of about 600,000 people. So we can really get lots of collaborations for you and really help you scale your e-commerce brand.
Yeah, I love it. And we'll dive into the specifics in just a moment. But I always love to take a little step back here because your journey is kind of interesting. You're 6X founder with over 20 years of experience, which is a long time. I can say that too. I've been out there for about 20, 25 years. I mean, so much has changed in this world.
Absolutely.
Just, what drew you to launch Stack Influence after everything else you'd already done?
Yeah, so long journey.
Hmm.
um, but the biggest thing that really made us develop and launch Stack Influence was um, solving our own issues for our own e-commerce brands. So we utilize a lot of different influencer platforms, a lot of different influencer tactics to not only launch but also scale the brands we were working on, my co-founder and I. And along that journey, we started to develop our own internal kind of automation and functionality to help us with that process, help us find influencers, help us analyze profiles, automate kind of collaborations, track results, etc. And what we found was that the tools we were building in house really were better than a lot of the other solutions out there. And it kind of really just evolved of us not only building our own tools, but then also sharing them with our friends and other colleagues in the e-commerce world. And that was really the birth of Stack Influence, was finding that not only did we value the tools we built, but others in the e-commerce space actually also valued them. Um, and building up kind of an internal community ourselves. And so that was the birth of Stack Influence, was really just solving our own issues with the influencer world.
So many stories have come out, Hootsuite as an example, solving a problem. So you identified a problem that was out there that it wasn't really any technology
Absolutely.
to support it. And I think that's amazing. So were you guys primarily using influencer marketing as your main marketing strategy, or was it just one of many different channels you were tapping into?
It was one of many, but it was influencer marketing is amazing because it gives you this wide range of benefits, especially when you're first kind of launching a product, even if you're an established brand. Um, and what I mean by that is that you can invest in online ads, meta ads, TikTok ads, Google, etc. Um, Pure performance marketing, right? But the output there is sales. Obviously, sales are very key and important, and the goal of any e-commerce brand. But in order to create a successful e-commerce brand, you also want to build your brand, right? And the beautiful thing about influencer marketing is that you're getting similar value to those online ads. You're getting your product out there, you're getting sales, awareness, etc. But with influencer marketing, you're also developing a lot of content. You're developing a lot of social proof, trust. And so it becomes this amazing way to not only generate sales, but then also create these long-lasting relationships, create this kind of, we call a war chest of content that you can now utilize on your online ads, fill out your website, create more, when I say social proof, real customers actually utilizing your product, showing how it works. And that just helps your websites convert better. If you're selling on online marketplaces like Amazon or Walmart, those listings actually perform better. Your ads perform better. And so it becomes this strategy where you can really not only scale up your sales, but also build your brand.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I mean, let's go back in time a little bit. Like, how long has it, really been around? I mean, I feel like there's different levels of influencers, throughout our history. I mean, sure, there were people in magazines who were, technically
Absolutely.
you could call them influencers, but in this current form, how long has it been like this?
It's now, so let's take a step back of evolution of influencer marketing, right? And to your exact point, influencing has been around forever, right? It's someone promoting a product to a mass audience in some capacity. Maybe not mass, but to any audience, right? You could even consider word of mouth marketing to be influencing. Um, but it really started to blow up as publications, news became a mass kind of thing in our society, right? So anyone who actually promotes a product is an influencer. And the beginning of this journey was really with celebrities. People realizing, okay, you have someone with, and in the social realm is really where the influencer term kind of took off. Someone with millions of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers, gets a product, promotes that product to their audience, right? Um, what has happened over the years, and really micro and nano influencers, these smaller types of influencers have really come into play in the last, I would say, 15, 20 years. Um, those are the early days. Blogging, that was kind of the initial micro influencer marketing, even before social media really took hold. But the reason why micro and what they call nano influencers, these smaller creators, really became popular is that the celebrities of the world, people started to realize they weren't as trustworthy, right? You started to realize that, hey, this person's promoting a product, Kim Kardashian's promoting a product, she's probably getting paid hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars to do this, right? And so does she actually really like this product? Is she actually behind it? Or is this person actually behind it? And the reason why these smaller creators had started to become much more effective is they're more trustworthy, right? They're not getting paid as much money. Some of them are just getting paid in simply product itself, and we can dive deeper into why that's a very effective strategy. And so, and then the secondary factor is that besides the fact that they're not getting paid a huge amount of money and they're not so much influenced or biased in their promotion, but also their audience is very trustworthy, right? When you have a very small, tight-knit follower base, it's a lot of your friends, your family, your close acquaintances, people who actually trust you. First off, you're not going to promote just anything to them because you don't want to kind of be you could say a sellout. But second, they trust what you're saying, right? And so across the board, what you see is that when these smaller creators create content and promote products, their engagement levels on social media, and when I say engagement, people who like, people who comment, people who share those posts, are much higher in a percentage basis than those larger influencers. And engagement is important because it correlates to sales or conversions, right? If someone's engaged with your post and not just scrolling past it, or just simply looking at it for 2 seconds, they are more likely to actually take an action on it. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want influence. You want those sales. And so this is where this evolution of these smaller creators came into play, as well as the advent of social platforms really evolving and catering features to allow kind of anyone to have a much larger influence. Now, with TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, you can have 100 followers, and if you produce really good content, that piece of content can actually go viral. You can get millions of views on that. So the playing field is kind of leveled out. And it's really opened this gateway to making these smaller creators as valuable, if not sometimes more valuable than their larger influencer counterparts.
So do they go, I mean, I know there's the nano, micro, there's kind of like a ladder essentially to the top. They start out as a nano, and maybe, this is where, obviously where, Stack Influence is, working a lot, probably with a lot of nanos. What happens when they reach, the next tier or a tier? Do you stop working with them at some point because they've gotten too big? They're not that real person anymore.
We actually have no cap to the amount of followers that can participate in our campaigns. The unique thing about our system is it's pure product seeding, actually. So that's another unique proposition that we have on the platform, is that if you're willing to do a promotion in exchange for a product while getting monetary benefits for like gamification, like what type of results you drive, what type of content you produce, et cetera, you can participate in a Stack Influence campaign. So there is a level to where people leave our platform and they go to more kind of just pure pay for promotion systems. But we still have people with hundreds of thousands of followers who actually participate in our campaigns, because what we really wanted to create a community and ethos around is almost passion promoters, right? People who actually care about the products that they're promoting. So if you actually care and like the product you're promoting, you will promote something just for a free product. You care about the brand, and people do this without getting paid at all or without getting free products, right? People on social media all the time, you're promoting your favorite brands, you're wearing them. And so that enables these larger, you could say, follower-based influencers to stick with our platform in a long run fashion. Yeah.
Well,
most people do. The only last caveat is I will say the majority of people have less than 20,000 followers on the system. Once you get over that, a lot of people do want to get paid. But again, there are some outliers who have
Yeah.
200,000, 300,000 followers who still collaborate.
Well, I mean, again, I go back to this. I love, this, and I'll put air quotes around it. Real people, right? Because, as a consumer, I start to worry at some point, like
Yeah,
who's,
absolutely.
this person, do they really like this product that they're raving about? Are they on
100%.
are they on the take? But if they're, utilizing, product seeding, which we'll get into in just one moment. I feel more comfortable listening to the pitch. I feel it's more authentic, and I think that's what we're all going after, because this is, we're on a verge of a world that's becoming a bit, rapid fire. A lot of AI. You start to
Yeah,
wonder, like, who's pitching you on what, and is this
totally.
first of all, is this person even real?
Absolutely.
I saw somebody the other day pitching on. I'm like, for sure. I mean, to the untrained eye, this was a human being. To the trained eye, this was all AI, and they were influencing
Yeah,
a product, which I assume you have to be careful of out there. So real people, I think, is a phenomenal thing. Let's dive into this product seeding. Explain to listeners, just concept of product seeding, and what it is, and how you guys utilize it at Stack Influence.
absolutely. So for those of you who do not know what product seeding is, it's exchanging a free product for some sort of collaboration, right? At a fundamental basis. In the social world, you're trading a product for a social promotion, right? And the benefit to this is that when you don't incorporate, and not to say people should not get paid for their work, right? Absolutely, you're spending a lot of time creating content, promoting that content, etc. But when you are willing to do a promotion or a collaboration in exchange for simply a product, it means that you actually really care about that product, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth your time. And that's what it comes back to when I mentioned like passion promoters. It's like if you're interested in, let's say, rock climbing, and I give you free rock climbing shoes, of course you're going to want to promote those rock climbing shoes, because it's something that you would spend your own money on normally, right? So you're actually saving money for something you care about, and you actually know a lot about it. So you're not going to necessarily promote any sort or brand of rock climbing shoes. And so that becomes really powerful because, first off, your friends, your family, people who know you, or even just simply your followers, who might not know you, actually trust you because they see maybe the content you're producing. You're taking photos, you're taking videos of different rock climbs you're doing, etc. And so they know that you are a trusted kind of voice in that space. Now, that's the first level of value from that. Is it's just more authentic, right? You're not biased by doing something for money, and maybe you get that product and throw it away after you did the promotion. And that trust is really key in this new social world that's mixed with AI, massive paid promotions, etc. It's what people also want, and consumers, I think, are becoming much more savvy to understand when something is inauthentic or authentic, right? And there's a fine line between that. The second value to product seeding is that you're doing it in a much more cost-effective manner, right? Influencer promotions can get quite pricey, and so by seeding out products or doing things just in exchange for free products, you can almost basically diversify your risk across more people, as opposed to maybe spending $5,000, $10,000 on one celebrity promotion. You can spread that out through hundreds or thousands of product seeding collaborations, right? And now you're getting a lot more content, you're getting a lot more promotions, you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. And so getting a better bang for your buck for your marketing spend. So product seeding overall, again, you're diversifying your risk, you're getting more authentic content, and you're really spreading out those promotions across a lot more, not only social profiles, but you're also, the last really kind of big value to this is you're getting your product in the hands of real consumers. So that is valuable on really two levels. One is word of mouth, right? Is that if you find someone who's willing to promote a product just for the product, it means they actually want the product. And so that's valuable because they're going to be utilizing in their real day life, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to be talking about it, like they might be wearing it, they might be consuming it. And so word of mouth marketing, one of the most effective marketing strategies in the history of the world. And so that also becomes a really valuable aspect, as well as that actually influencer might become a lifelong consumer of your brand as well. So they might keep buying it if it's a consumable product that they would want to rebuy, you could say. So in total, that's really the big value of product seeding and just exchanging a free product in exchange for some sort of collaboration in what we're talking about as social promotion.
Yeah, and very, obviously very cost effective to the brand as well.
Absolutely.
Getting that out there, a lot of value. One thing I'd asked you earlier offline, we talked about age. And you mentioned to me that you guys don't take anybody under 18, but we're seeing this whole world where there are these kids out there who are becoming, I guess, the next wave of influencers. I've got a good friend, family friend where the kid is pitching cologne. He's very into cologne, and he's not 18 yet, but I assume at some point, maybe when he turns 18, he becomes a perfect candidate for this, because there are brands out there that may be watching and saying, God, he's really talking. He's saying amazing things about our cologne. Let's go ahead and send him the next, batch that comes out in there. Are you seeing a big influx of young, 18 to 21-year-olds that are in Stack Influence now?
Absolutely. So the younger generation lives on social media, Gen Z. So it's becoming more of a normal aspect of their life. And a lot of people realize that they can potentially create a living actually influencing in some capacity, right? And because they grew up with these social platforms, they're very attuned to the different things that convert, to how to create really high engaging content. And so, yes, we are, the average actually age on our platform is 30. Surprisingly, you'd think it'd be actually even younger and people in their 20s, but not to say that what we're seeing is a lot more younger people joining the platform just because of that aspect of social media being such an integral part of their lives.
What kind of brands are you seeing, or maybe what kind of products are at the top of the list in terms of, brands want to promote, or that maybe even influencers are interested in promoting right now?
Absolutely. So the top brands that we see, so first off, actually, the influencer world is more skewed female, somewhat surprisingly. We see about 65 to 70% of influencers being actually female. But as far as products which correlate with more female catering, is fashion, beauty, fitness, food. Those are kind of the top categories. A lot of consumables are really, really, or products that you reutilize or might subscribe to, are some of the most popular influencer products. Because going back, especially for product seeding, just getting your product in the hands of someone can be valuable, right? You might get market research from that. You can get basically them, if they like the product, they might rebuy it. And then it's also just the value of like, every single person who you get onto the platform might become a recurring subscriber. You have an LTV to your product. It's not just a one-off buy. So we see a lot of those types of products really scaling up influencer marketing on our platform, as opposed to sometimes the one-off products may only do a smaller campaign just to generate some initial awareness, et cetera, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that does. And what platforms, I mean, obviously Stack Influence is the platform we're talking about, but in terms of the social platforms, which ones are leading the way right now, just in terms of influencers? TikTok at the top of the list, or is Instagram still ruling, the ruler out there?
It's going back and forth. Instagram still holds reign across a lot of different industries, but the top three by far are TikTok, Instagram, and then YouTube Shorts is kind of an up and coming.
Yeah. Interesting.
At least in the B2C world, right? And then if you're going into the B2B, you kind of are looking at the LinkedIns, the Reddits of the world, kind of some of the more Twitter or X. But yeah, for our platform, we're B2C focused and also e-commerce focused. And the top three are Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Okay. So somebody wants to get started, young brand, maybe they're selling their own products, they're manufacturing everything. They come to Stack Influence. How does it happen? How do they get started? How do they put their information in? And I guess most importantly, then how do they measure? That's what I would really love to. How do they measure that this is actually working other than seeing their influencer doing the thing out there?
Yeah. So very simply, you sign up on our website. You're going to set specific goals for a campaign. So our system is very unique, comparatively. Reason why we built it, and as opposed to using a lot of other softwares out there. Most of the other influencer tools that exist, just to give you also everyone a background on this, are pretty much like a CRM. And for those of you who don't know what a CRM is, it's a customer relationship management platform, meaning that like a lot of other platforms will give you a database of influencers and then some software tools to reach out to them, to negotiate kind of some collaborations, to manage payments, and kind of like help you with the collaboration. But there's still a huge amount of manual effort that is entailed. Now, for smaller product seeding or micro and nano influencer promotions, those platforms become very difficult because the name of the game, as we've been discussing, is scale. You want to work with a lot of these people. And so what we developed is a system, as I mentioned earlier in this, is for pure automation. And so when a brand comes to our system and signs up, you're going to set a specific goal, whether it's 100 influencers, whether it's 5,000 influencers. And you're going to set we want you to have a lot of control over how your product and your brand is displayed, what type of posting guidelines you'd like to direct people to kind of follow. But then from there, we wanted to make a system that just handled all of the logistics that as a brand, you don't have time to do. And that entails shipping products out to people, making sure they post on time, making sure they follow guidelines, analyzing results. And so once you sign up and you set these goals and your time frame and your posting guidelines, you sit back and relax. The platform sets out to achieve the goals while providing you with a full-fledged tracking dashboard, so you still have insight into monitoring how the funnel of these influencers are flowing through, who's received your product, who's in their posting stage, who's actually completed posts. How can you analyze kind of the social results of those promotions? Can you download content? Can you create longer term relationships with these influencers? And so the platform is going to help you monitor everything and then leverage things for the long term, but handle all of the heavy lifting for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I hear this a lot. Oh, I'm just going to, an entrepreneur, e-commerce entrepreneur, I'm just going to go and reach out on Instagram myself and start doing this process. And my attitude is always like, well, sure, I guess you could go do that, but where's the trackability? How are you going to measure what's happening? And as this thing scales, you've already explained, it's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Get product in hand, manage who has the product, what are they going to be doing with it, and when are they going to be doing it, and what are my results? That's a lot of work.
100%. And going back to your question on results, so a few different layers to results from influencer marketing, right? First layer is just social metrics. You want to understand what your total reach or impressions are from those social promotions. You want to understand what your engagement levels are. So which types of audiences of the influencers are actually engaging or taking action on the social promotions. So what's your product resonating with, or which audiences are they resonating with? And then also you want to understand how many sales you're generating from each promotion, who your best kind of promotions are, what the best content you're producing, and then who could be potential candidates for longer term collaborations. And that's a big thing that is an evolution of the influencer strategy that a lot of brands who are really good at influencing are taking advantage of, is not just doing a one-off promotion, but doing something in the long term. Consumers naturally are have a higher affinity to products they see more than once, right? And so if you can create this longer term relationship with an influencer, they're not just promoting your product once, but they're promoting it multiple times across multiple social channels. It becomes a much more effective type of collaboration. And you can incentivize influencers in a variety of ways to do these longer term, whether it's more product seeding, shipping them other products maybe from your catalog, whether it's affiliate type of relationship, so giving them a commission of sales over a longer term time period. So there's a variety of ways to create these kind of longer term relationships with these people, which we see a huge amount of value in. And the last aspect is actually integrating kind of these longer term relationships into online ads. And this is, we can talk about this later, but there's all these new features for what the advertising world calls whitelisting, kind of running an ad through an influencer's profile, right? Or getting the influencer to actually run an ad on your product. So putting ad dollars behind something that's more authentic than something coming from your brand, and then maybe doing commission shares of sales, et cetera. Those are big things that we see at where the influencer marketing world is going to be evolving into much more rapidly, and what we're investing in a lot as well.
That's great. Just maybe 2 or 3 metrics that are essential. I assume sales is top of the list. But what else would I be looking at in terms of evaluating if my influencer campaign worked?
Sales, engagement level, and then I would say also a big thing is content value, honestly. Because again, as I briefly brought up previously, influencer marketing is not just pure performance marketing. It's not just on the ads. It's also brand building. And you might get one piece of content that you start running an ad with, decreases your ad costs, increases your conversion rates. You might get an ROI just off one single piece of UGC, right? And for those of you who don't know what UGC is, user-generated content. And so don't underestimate that value as well, right? So obviously look at those main metrics for the actual influencing social promotion itself, but then also look at the metrics of what was the content you produced? What was the relationship also you produced? Maybe you found one person who's really good at longer term promotions. Maybe that one promotion did okay, but over a year time frame, they kept promoting your product. A few of their posts went viral, etc. And you also got a massive ROI just from that longer term relationship, giving them an affiliate commission, right? So those are the things that we prompt brands to really dig into, is look at those first metrics from that first collaboration, but then also take the content, take those longer term relationships, and analyze those metrics in a longer term fashion. And you're going to see a much higher ROI by seeing that kind of full picture value.
Wow, that's great. And I assume, as a e-commerce entrepreneur, I don't need to, it isn't just about me being and having my own site. I mean, I could do this if I was selling on marketplaces too, right?
Absolutely.
On Amazon, Walmart, Etsy, places like that. No restrictions around that. Works just fine. I mean, I guess you just have to pick where you want to promote and where you want your influencer to send. And also maybe a follow-up to that is, are there influencers who have more, are more influential in the Etsy world or in the Amazon world? And can I find those profiles on your platform?
Absolutely. We actually have a big focus on e-commerce marketplaces, where a lot of the sellers utilize our system to actually help their e-commerce marketplace platform or listings grow. A big reason behind that, and I'll follow up with the specifics of the influencers catered to those platforms in a minute. But a big reason why brands love influencer marketing for e-commerce marketplace growth is that e-commerce marketplaces are search engines at the end of the day, right? Let's just take Amazon, the largest one, for example. There's about 3,000 new sellers that join Amazon every single day. And I think the stat is about 75% of people don't go past the first page when they search for something on Amazon, right? I assume everyone listening has bought something on Amazon. Maybe you'll go to the second page if you really, really can't find what you're looking for. But taking into account how many new sellers are joining the platform every day and how many people are already on there, For any given search term, there might be tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of pages, right? Or of listings and search results. So going back to a search engine, how do you rank? The same thing on Google. How do you actually show up and have visibility? Because that's the way you make actually money on those marketplaces. If you're not shown anywhere, it's like you just have a website, right? You have to drive the sales yourself. And so how those marketplaces determine how you actually show up is by collecting data on how your product performs, right? So when someone goes to your listing, do they add your product to the cart? Do they buy your product? What actions do they take? Is it high converting or not converting, right? And Amazon's not going to show you, or Walmart's not going to show you on that first page if they don't think that you're going to be a valuable product, because they're making commission off your sales. So if they put you there and you don't do very well, they just lost a whole bunch of money. Like, there could have been someone better, right? But the thing is maybe the top, I think there's 43 listings on the first page of Amazon. If there's a new product that just launched, right, and it's like 10 times better than one of the products that's on that first page, it's in Amazon's best interest to figure out a way to determine should they be shown. Because if they are really, really good and they do show them, now Amazon's making more money, right? And so why influencer marketing becomes so valuable is if you can provide external traffic signals to Amazon. By an external traffic signal, an influencer promotion driving sales to an Amazon listing, for example, you're giving Amazon the metrics it needs to understand, hey, is this product valuable enough to get shown on this higher page positioning? And if you get shown, your sales could 10x, 30x overnight, right? Because you get now access to these millions of people who are actually visiting Amazon every single day. So it becomes a really, really effective strategy for scaling up e-commerce marketplace platforms. In addition to all the brand building aspects, you have to have a good brand and have to differentiate yourself to even compete and get people to convert. So that's kind of the value of the e-commerce side with the influencers. And then quick follow-up to influencers being catered to certain platforms. Absolutely. They're now, for example, Amazon and both Walmart have their own kind of influencer affiliate aspects to their platforms where they're actually out of their pocket paying commissions to these influencers to drive sales to products. So you can create, and there's absolutely these people on our platform who already are part of these programs. And so they'll promote your product through our system, let's say on Instagram, promote it to drive some sales to Amazon, but then they have their own Amazon, what they call a storefront, kind of a list of products that they recommend. They'll then take that social promotion, post that to their Amazon kind of storefront page, and keep kind of driving traffic there to get affiliate commissions in the long term. And so now you're kind of going into that longer term value world. And just some people are more attuned to promoting these kind of online marketplaces than others. So absolutely, it's a big evolution we're seeing in the space, but influencer marketing works regardless of where you sell. Shopify, WordPress, you name it.
Just curious, those videos that I see down at the bottom of, let's say, an Amazon listing where they're unboxing it and they're talking about it. Sure. Are those influencers, or are those just people who have something wonderful to say or not so wonderful? I guess I don't know how that's being curated, by the way, if Amazon allows the not so wonderful commentary to go up too.
No, it does. That is actually a new program that Amazon has pushed out called Amazon Posts. It's something that we were actually working on an automation development into actually right now.
Nice.
Speaking about syndicating kind of content across a lot of different platforms. But to answer your question, yes, a lot of those are, some of those are just consumers who have created some content and posted that content. But a lot of that is actually a lot of influencer content that not only, there's two ways that can get fed in. One is an influencer that exists on Amazon's ecosystem posting content, tagging that brand. The second is actually the brand repurposing that content and promoting it. But the advent of Amazon actually creating that feature it's kind of their way to integrate into this social shopping world, right?
Right.
Create almost an Instagram feed on your listing to show that social proof, to show real consumers actually utilizing the product. And so we highly recommend, it's a free system for Amazon. Anyone who is running influencer campaigns to absolutely reutilize content into their post system, because it absolutely, there's a lot of proven data that it will increase your conversions of consumers visiting your pages.
Well, I'll say, William, I don't know, if you have this kind of time in your day, but I have never looked at that situation and said, you know what, I really should make a video about that thing that I just bought out there. But I think that there is obviously a whole world that loves to do that.
Yeah.
I look at my, more of a time situation, but there are people who are very passionate, right? They just bought something and they want to be the first to tell you about it. And I think
Absolutely.
that's what we're talking about here. All of this, the whole influencer ecosystem is these people who just want to get the message out. They're excited about the product. And I think that's amazing. I think it's amazing. Now, one thing that does concern me is the world of AI, and we just touched on it just a little bit, earlier. What are you seeing happening in the world of AI? It's obviously playing a huge part in all areas of e-commerce. What's happening? What kind of impact is it having on the influencer marketing world? How are you guys, do you have problems with people making, what if people are starting to make, their AI, they're using HeyGen and 11 Labs, and next thing you know, it's not the real Ramin, it's the AI version of Ramin doing it. How are you guys, are you starting to see some of that happen? And what's going on with AI and in the influencer world?
Lots of different things. We're utilizing a lot of AI in our own platform ourselves. So AI is helping a lot. Let's just take not the AI generated content. We can talk about that in a second, but just utilizing AI to analyze profiles, analyze metrics about promotions, analyze content, right? So utilizing to find better promoters for you and analyze results in more qualitative and quantitative fashion. Second thing is helping with automation, right? So caption automation, kind of like helping you curate things in a better way, right? Creating better descriptions and product guidelines for your brand. So things along those lines are really positive in the influencer world because they're just making people more efficient with the types of content. Now, as far as content generation, we haven't seen, so we do not allow someone to have a pure AI content for promotion through our platform, right? And the reason behind that is going back to inauthenticity. It's not as trustworthy, right? And there's a big debate around this of is AI generated content, is AI influencers going to take over real influencer? And my thoughts on it are, it is going to be an aspect of influencer marketing. It's getting really good, and there's going to be, no question, types of AI generated content that convert really well. But it also comes back to, again, authenticity and trustworthiness. And the reason why especially micro and nano influencers have blown up in the past few years and become such an effective form of promotion is because of that trustworthiness. And why people have gone away from just generating their own ads or using celebrities is because of that inauthenticity in some capacity or less trustworthiness. And people are getting really good at figuring out, even though AI is also simultaneously getting insanely good at tricking you, that you can tell when something is fake or not real, right? And so that is less trustworthy innately, right? If you have a good product and it's sending a good message, you may still buy it. But that trust is still going to exist forever, right? It's what we want. As you trust your friends, your family, when you a lot of times, or you go to the people in your life that have experience in something when you're going to make a consumer decision. A lot of times, obviously, you're influenced by ads, etc. But overall, you convert on people who you care about and believe in. So All that said, I do think there's going to be a lot of synergy with AI and influencer marketing, not just in total fake profiles, but in curating content in a better fashion, right? Like, there are ways to create a video or an image and then increase the resolution using AI, right? Maybe you didn't have the best iPhone photo, but you can use actually AI tools to maybe enhance it and make it still authentic, still you, but just a little bit more quality, you could say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second thing is also utilizing AI to edit videos. This is a big thing that we're pretty bullish on with online ads. So incorporating a video into an AI generator that might cut it up, add captions, make it a better type of maybe promotion for you that could possibly be used further for ads, but maybe just for that influencer promotion. So we're believing, or I personally see that there's going to be a lot of synergy with the AI generated content and the authentic kind of UGC world.
Yeah.
In combination with things that are purely fake or purely AI generated. But I think those are going to fall into kind of the more celebrity promotion bucket, the less authentic. And it's just going to become another form of kind of just generating an graphic design ad, right?
Yeah,
Like, but
yeah.
it's interactive, you know?
Well, I'm glad you guys are, you have a line that can't be crossed because, I'll say just in that example that I saw the other day, person was selling a course, and it was lacking authenticity, and
Yeah.
and just because I'm so deeply involved in the world of AI as well, I mean, you can see it. I think there are probably a lot of people who don't capture, it doesn't
Totally.
trigger right
Totally.
away. But I looked at it and said, hey, I liked the idea. I was interested in the content, but then I
Yeah.
saw that, and so I think the same thing will ring true for brands and products. And I'm glad that you guys are, trying to get ahead of this and make sure that, because otherwise we're flooded. We're flooding the market
Exactly.
with because you could do this at scale all day
That's
long.
that's the big thing.
Yeah.
We're already bombarded by so much content, and it's
Yeah.
just going to get worse. And so it's going to be creativity is. We have a catchphrase of like creativity is a new currency, but like creativity is really going to be what differentiates brands in the future.
Yeah.
Because, and even in the AI world, like if you're not creative, there's going to be so much content that's generated, like it's just not going to stick out. And so creativity and authenticity are what are going to thrive,
Yeah.
in my opinion, in this world that we're just bombarded by content because, as you said, it's going to be so, and it already is getting very, very easy to scale.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about the next 12 to 24 months. Does Kim Kardashian still have a job as a mega influencer? Or, is this world going to be dominated by the nanos and the micros out there, which I like. I think it's a great thing. And again,
Yeah.
this is what you guys are all about, the authentic, the real person out there. What does this world of influencer marketing look like in 12 to 24 months?
It absolutely is consistently, we call it the democratization of the influencer world. It's moving in that direction. I don't think Kim Kardashian is going to be out of a job, and if she was, she's going to be okay. But there's still a value of celebrities in influencing. Absolutely, right? They still have an affinity towards them. They have this kind of almost cult-like following, and they have a massive reach. So those promotions can still be effective. The downside is social platforms now don't actually cater to them like they used to. It used to be the fact that if you had 1 million followers, you posted, all those 1 million people were on social media that few days after you posted, everyone would see your content. Now only the people who are actually really engaged with your content that you produce in the past will actually see the content you produce in the future. And so, and as a small person, as I discussed before, you produce really good content. Instagram's going to push that, or TikTok's going to push that beyond your follower base. They're going to, because they want to, the best type of content, they want everyone to see that. And so that is really kind of spearheading this democratization, you could say. And so we're going to, in the next future of next year, 2 years, 3 years, micro nano influencers are just going to become more effective, more powerful. we're going to see a lot more people utilizing them. So.
Wow, that's great. Well, tell me, I'll take a little step back here as we wrap things up, because I'm curious, you ran a 7-figure e-commerce brand, and Stack Influence kind of came out of that world, that, figuring out. Did you remember, and I always like to do this to especially those who've run e-commerce businesses, did you remember what it felt like, maybe that day where you guys first hit $1,000 day? That big number, like what did that feel like? And do you remember it?
Absolutely. It was wild. It's crazy euphoria and like what is happening. And it's a mixture of euphoria and fear as well, right? Because you're like instant scrambling of what do we do next? How do we keep this up? How do we get more product? Because that first day we ran out of stock. We like totally ran out, and
Wow.
and then it was like, we had bootstrapped that company, so we were like, we need to get money to our manufacturers really fast. How do we get product? How do we change our website to keep up those sales and the pre-orders coming, right? So it was a wild journey, and a wild experience that first time. Not always after, become jaded to it over time, but
All right.
but it's always amazing to see a product that you envisioned come to life and then really take off and people love it. So
Yeah. Can you attribute influencer marketing to that being, part of the reason why you guys exploded as quickly as you did?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
we used product launches are one of the best use cases for influencers, because it's very hard to get the word out about your product right away unless you already have an existing brand and you have people coming to your site, etc. But again, when you first launch, just even I kind of mentioned this previously, but in a market research standpoint, like just getting your product in the hands of people, those influencers are going to tell you if the product's bad or not.
Right.
So
Right.
you might need to, and that's a really important aspect to launching a product. You need a good product. That's how you create longevity. Um, and so, but then also, again, getting the word out initially, getting some social proof, getting some content that you can now utilize on ads, et cetera. It's fundamental. Every single product we launched, we had a playbook to seed about 100 at least products to
Wow.
people, generate some initial content, get some initial awareness, get some initial people, find maybe out of that batch 20 of those people who could be candidates for longer term promotions,
Mm-hmm.
continue to seed them products or give them affiliate commissions, take that content, start implementing that into some online ad platforms. And that was the playbook to kind of really just start scaling something up.
Wow, that's like a mini masterclass here on how to launch it. I love it. That's awesome. Is that brand still around, by the way, that you guys started? Did you sell it off and
We sold it
sold
off.
off? Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
great. Well, that's I mean, I'd say that emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs always want to know, what the end looks like, right? Especially when somebody's done 7 figures, and what does that world look like? And I remember it's fast paced, and you want more of it. This is the thing.
Exactly.
You're like, how do we
It
not
becomes addictive.
Yes, how do you not mess this up? And I think the formula you just mentioned is fantastic. I think the world of influencer marketing is just it's in its early days, even though it's been around for quite a while.
Totally.
And I love you meant the democratization of influencer marketing, and that is where you guys are sitting in that world right now. You're helping facilitate that. So we don't have to think that, and no offense to celebrities, and there's celebrities who are very, they're very particular about brands they promote, right?
Absolutely.
They evaluate.
And very niche.
Yeah.
There's no question. Yeah, celebrity, different types of influencer marketing absolutely works in different capacities, right?
Yeah.
It's just when you're starting out as a brand and you don't have enough money to shell out for a massive influence promotion, and you're also putting a lot of your eggs in one basket, right?
Sure. 100%.
And so that's where the product seeding model, the micro nano influencer collaborations, is just much more effective. And then as you scale, I would say my recommendation is doing a mixture of multiple things, right? Doing a few celebrity promotions because you're getting that kind of name. The advantage to them is they have almost a brand behind their persona. But we still see the Fortune 500 companies heavily investing in the smaller creators now, and more so than they ever have been before, because they realize that they're getting taken out by these up and coming brands that are only doing micro nano inference promotions, getting the word out to all these different people, and it's much more effective. So,
Yeah.
but a mixture of strategies is always good.
No, I think it's great. I mean, there's so many people, so many folks in our community, and that tune into what we're doing. That this is gonna hit home. These could be the same people who are trying to do it on their own, which I do think that you could try to do a lot of things on your own, right? You could do paid ads on your own.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean that they're and I think things have gotten complex, and if you want to try to do them at scale and put a professional element behind them, utilizing platforms, utilizing existing technology is a good thing. It's it helps you move faster. So I appreciate you. Now I do in closing, I'm curious about we brought up AI, and I always like to ask this one question because I think we're at this stage where people are getting blown away by what they see. I just experienced something the other day that blew me away too. What is like one thing that you've maybe done just on, whether it be Claude or ChatGPT or even Gemini or I guess Grok, any of these, that made you stop in your tracks and say, wow, this is amazing. I can't wait to see this, what it looks like in a few years.
So I would say two things. First off, and everyone's talking about this right now in the online world, but ChatGPT just released their new kind of generative image.
That was
update.
My wow moment. That was my
Yes,
wow moment. Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, it's out of control how amazing that is. We've been utilizing, just speaking about the world of AI generated ads, a bunch of different platforms in the past year, 2 years have popped up to help you integrate some UGC or integrate some product images and generate some ads out of it. It feels like with one update, ChatGPT just took all of those out because of how quality their new generator is. But yeah, like we ran just a simple thing of like turn this ad into Madman style, and like
Amazing.
It was, for those of you who know what Madman is, the show, but it was unbelievable, like the output that it came out with, and just also incorporating some of our influencer content in there and being like, change it into this style with this ad, with this copy, etc. It was fantastic, and it shocked me to beyond belief of how quickly because for the past few months, I mean, you put it in an image or you tell it to generate an image, and it was like 7 fingers. Someone was deformed in the back. And now is like everything is almost perfect. Especially the text. The text was one of the most surprising things, was how accurate like product text can be. Because that was an issue. Just even generating graphic design stuff, like always try to use AI tools to make things more efficient. But the text always kind of sucked. And now they've nailed it down to like some of the like ingredients text on something was like perfect. So
it is amazing, and it's the second week, I think, or something like that. I mean, what does that look like? I've read an agency owner just literally put "we're done." I think it was his LinkedIn comment. That's the end, because I mean, yes, we're just going to continue to learn. So that's a wow moment, and I think we're probably going to have thousands and thousands of wow moments in figuring out. But at the end of the day, I say, that's let's remember it's a tool.
Absolutely.
And we don't get too carried away with, utilize tools to your advantage. And, you mentioned so many that inside of Stack Influence that you guys are, using and thinking about, how do you get this better? But at the end of the day, human beings, right? And I think it goes back to, your world and what you guys are trying to manage, real authentic human beings talking about real products. That's where we win, and that's where you can grow an e-commerce brand successfly, in my opinion.
Completely. Yeah, the human nature will never die, right? No. At least I hope so. Otherwise, we're in trouble.
Well, William, this has been an amazing interview. I love this. You touched on a very important topic, one that I think gives power to the emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs out there that they know, they may not have massive budgets, but product seeding can get them into, get their product out there and start giving them a taste of success so they can continue to reinvest and grow. But I love this topic of influencer marketing. I love what you guys are doing at Stack Influence. I think it's really, really a valuable platform for entrepreneurs out there. So thank you.
Appreciate it and appreciate having me on, Ramin.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe just take a minute or two, just tell everybody where they can find you personally as well as the business. That would be great.
Absolutely. So check out our website. It's stackinfluence.com.
Great.
We are pretty much on every single social platform at Stack Influence.
I would expect, yes.
Naturally. And if anyone wants to shoot me actually a personal email, I'd always be happy to respond to them. My email is william@stackinfluence.com.
Beautiful. We'll put all of that in the show notes, and we look forward to seeing where this goes and where the future. And we'd love to have you on down the road and talk again and see what maybe you're just telling me that AI is just completely taken over. Who knows? But let's not let that happen. Let's let human beings do their work, which I think is central to what you guys are trying to do. So
100%.
appreciate your time today, William. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we look forward to watching you guys grow as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. Take care. All right. That brings us to the end of another episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. Don't forget to check out past episodes, which are all available on demand on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Ready to join the revolution? Become an exclusive part of our growing community of emerging e-commerce entrepreneurs at ecomrevolution.co. Until next time, see ya.